bus doors closed behind me with some effort. It was an empty stop except for two bearded men, their faces already blue from drinking. A light, chilly wind roamed the streets, carrying the scent of rain. Night had long enveloped everything around. This was autumn, the real deal. Honestly, I like this time of year when it's damp and cold. There's something special about it, a sort of magical melancholy. So, returning home from a friend's, I decided to enjoy a little walk. Besides, I needed to sober up. I'd had a little too much, and I was a little different from those drunks by the bus stop, except perhaps in behavior and the ability to stand on my feet. After a moment's pause, I finally started moving. There was a strange lightness in my head, making everything around me seem unreal. I needed to drink less. I felt like I was deteriorating. With a casual stride and a tune humming in my head, I walked home, looking around. Occasionally, I glanced at the sky where stars and the moon shone. The quiet of the yards, the occasional glimmer of car headlights. Yes, there was a beauty in it, and it's only when you're drunk that you meet such beauty. Everything would have been fine, just me walking, when suddenly I heard a voice. It was quiet, weak, probably an old lady's. I looked around, listened. The voice came from near the garbage bins. There, I noticed movement. "Someone help," the voice pleaded. "What happened?" I asked, out of reflex. "Oh, grandson, I fell. I can't get up. Please help me." Something seemed off about all of this, especially how the old lady spoke. It sounded hoarse, like she was sitting in a barrel, but I didn't dwell on it too much. Strange things happen in old age. So without hesitation, I went to help the granny. She reached out her hands. I tried to see her face, but all I saw was an old worn coat and dirty pants. Her face was so well hidden under the scarf, as if swallowed by darkness. "Oh, thank you, grandson. Thank you," she said. "It's no." I couldn't finish. Her hands gripped my forearms, so tight that I felt her squeezing my bones. "Hey, Granny, what are you doing?" "Thank you, grandson. Thank you," she repeated, her voice distorted. I tried to break free, but in vain. The old hag had me in a vice grip. "Let go of me," I yelled, kicking at her, but she didn't relent. So I had to act decisively. Pushing her with all my strength towards the garbage bin, I managed to break free from her grasp. She felt like a puppet. In that moment, her hood fell back, revealing her head. And, oh God, it wasn't human. Oval head with a stretched out face, expressions shifting every second like frames of a movie. Sometimes agony, sometimes sadness, sometimes anger. After a while, the creature stood up, revealing its full form. A long, thin, gray body covered in slime, with disproportionately small limbs. Its hands with long nails were bent at the elbows, and instead of feet, it had some kind of hooves. This twisted creature came toward me. I couldn't resist and fell backward onto the wet asphalt, scrambling to my feet and pressing my back against the fence. My breath was ragged, sweat pouring down my forehead. I glanced over my shoulder and saw the creature with car-like speed rushing toward me, swaying from side to side and waving its arms like wings. I couldn't hold back the scream. My legs carried me home. Without paying attention to the road, I just ran. But then an unexpected surprise awaited me. When I reached the road, the only barrier to my home, I stopped for a moment and looked around. I noticed two silhouettes on the other side. They were hiding in the darkness, out of reach of the streetlights. They just stood there, watching something. I was relieved, thinking they were people. I started shouting something incomprehensible to them and waving my arms, but that was a bad decision. As you might have guessed, those two silhouettes were clearly not human. I realized this only too late. Just when those things emerged into the light, jumping back and nearly falling, I ran in the other direction. Those monsters blocked my way home. Now, I didn't know where to go. I just ran, hoping to escape those creatures. Their slapping steps were audible behind me. They were getting closer and closer. I was running out of strength. I couldn't run anymore. Was this the end? For a moment, I stopped near a residential building to catch my breath. The creatures fell behind, so there was time. While enjoying a moment of calmness, I noticed a basement. In the darkness, I saw that the door was slightly ajar. It seemed someone from the residence had forgotten to close it. I was damn lucky. I rushed inside. When I found myself in the darkness of the basement, I quickly closed the door and pressed my back against it. My lungs burned, my legs couldn't stand anymore, and I fell back on my rear. Behind the door there was commotion. The creatures gathered around it, but they didn't know what to do. They chattered and grunted, communicating with each other. I had to hold my breath and try not to make any noise until they left. After several long minutes, I felt like I was about to lose consciousness. My lungs burned, my head was spinning. I tried to hold on until the last moment, but eventually I succumbed to the world of dreams. I had no idea how long I slept. My body ached, and it was freezing. Unpleasant sensations after those events. I didn't even realize immediately that I was holed up in the basement. With caution, I emerged from my hiding place. The bright sunlight hit my eyes. Was it all over? I couldn't believe that I had escaped those horrific monsters. It was daytime outside. People were going about their business. Cars were driving back and forth. I, bewildered after the night, headed towards home. Of course, I couldn't escape the stares and whispers of passers-by. My appearance clearly suggested that I had escaped from a yellow house. But I didn't care then. The most important thing was to get home. You could attribute all this to alcohol intoxication, but it wasn't just that. I hadn't drunk enough that day to see demons out of a snuff box. This incident could have been forgotten if I hadn't encountered them again on a winter evening when I went to the store for bread. After our first encounter, there were many more of them, and now I feel like I won't be so lucky this time.